Good afternoon. This is Ladan, Manjiri, and Roshin, and this is our project called Botanical Universe, study of tactile perception and representation. We rely on our sense of touch to enable us to undertake everyday tasks such as typing, cooking, or playing a musical instrument. Tactile sensations such as texture, vibration, and bumps, contour shapes, and weight all help to give direction and guide our movements. We are constantly using the information received by the sense of touch to tell us about our surrounding. This phenomenon is known as haptic perception. Perception integrates somatosensory information from touch, the ones that cannot be gained by looking at an object, and from proprioception, which is perception or awareness of the position and movement of the object. Knowing this, if one aims to convey an idea to a blind person, he needs to use tactile representation for communication purposes. For this reason, in this research paper, we aim to investigate different methods and materials that can be used for tactile representation.
For this project's purpose, we chose three different botanical species: pinecone, banksia, and magnolia seed pod. The chosen species are categorized into three parts based on their appearance, texture, scale, and origin of the plant. These three species have been selected particularly due to having fairly similar geometry while embodying variation in details of their seed pods. The cone is an organ on the plant that contains reproductive structures. The familiar woody cone is the female cone which produces seeds. The winged seeds rest on top of the scales which are attached to the central core. The structure of the pine cone confirms the presence of Fibonacci sequence by the peculiar arrangement of their winged seeds. This is Banksia ingrifolia, also commonly known as coastal Banksia. It's a species of tree that grows along the east coast of Australia. This is the life cycle of Banksia from its flowering stage to development of fruiting heads and then the final stage. Banksia's growth demonstrates the arrangement created by radical pattern. The stigmas attached to the central spine of the flower, which helps to create the spiral pattern, is reflected here. These are magnolia seed pods. They spread open to reveal bright red berries to attract wildlife. This is the life cycle of magnolia from its flowering stages till the final stage where the seeds drop down and the pod dries out. If zoomed in, the seed pod of magnolia showcases a specific honeycomb pattern. The scales of magnolia seed pod get stacked one on top of the other to generate a particular texture.
We collected two samples of each category. Each sample is showing different stage of their life cycle. Then, for beginning our journey, we started scanning them with iScan 3D scanner. These are the final results and the 3D that was made. As you can see, they are different from the original objects. In this project, we proposed different methods and techniques to help with understanding tactility of the objects. We use meaningful, salient, and logical ways to reproduce parts of pinecone, banksia, and magnolia to make sure they are intelligible by tactile means.
For the first fabrication method, we tried laser cutting. We scanned the banksia and started to modify the meshes while keeping the scale, form, and basic texture of the banksia intact. After completing the mesh modification process, we created contour lines on the object to help fabricate discs for laser cutting. We used boxboard and acrylic as materials for the models. These materials were chosen for studying the differentiations in textures, colors, and feel of the final products.
Process 2 was comprised of extracting the negative image of objects and reproducing them using 3D printing techniques. Here you can see 3D patterns that are created using the negative image of the objects, 6 of them together on one. And here you can see before and after the transformation. After making the 3D print of the negative parts, we decided to explore a different material. To achieve that, we used clay to recreate objects with different material from the 3D printed objects, which were used as the mold in this process. The other process that we have done is the robotic milling process. The patterns are extracted from the 3D file that is made with Einscan 3D scanner. So a part of the file is selected, contoured, and enlarged. We did this process for two categories, pinecone and magnolia seed pod. Process 5 was comprised of extracting the negative image of objects and producing a 2D pattern. The 2D patterns are then drawn out using robotic painting technique. Here you can see the development of a 2D pattern and scripting it using a grasshopper and then the robotic painting. Final painting produced by the robotic painting. We believe that if we can find a way to communicate the variation of these three botanical species to a visually impaired person, we have taken a step toward tactile representation, which can then be used in an architectural work. Our experiment is not finished yet and we still need to explore and test other methods and materials. As Stephen Hall put it in his Matter Tactility article in 1988, given an architectural idea, the relationships of construction materials impose a dimension that penetrates perception through matter to tactility. Matter interlocking with the perceiver's sense provides the detail that moves us beyond acute sight to tactility. Overall, as future architects and designers, we need to visualize a space full of logical, tactile representation if we like our space to be navigable and enjoyable by a visually impaired person. Thank you for listening to us.